When beauty turned to betrayal. The day my brother married my fiancée. My name is Michael Duval, and this is the story I never wanted to tell. A story of love that turned to venom. A story of betrayal that tore my family into pieces. A story that began the day I returned from Boston, master's degree in hand, only to find that the woman I loved, my fiancée of 2 years, had become my brother's wife. And yet, life wasn't done with any of us. Because beauty may open doors, but betrayal always comes back to collect. This is how justice found its way home. Before I continue, please subscribe to my channel to see more interesting stories. Thank you. I remember the smell of the Atlanta airport, coffee, jet fuel, and the warmth of home. I had spent 2 years in Boston completing my master's program in data engineering. Throughout those years, Sophia, my fiancée, was my anchor. The video calls, the promises, the way her laughter melted the stress of exams. I believed in us. I trusted her. My elder brother, Marcus, picked me up from the airport. His grin felt forced. Something in his eyes flickered with guilt. "Let's head home," he said. But home was already gone. When we reached the family house, I saw balloons, a banner, celebration lights. For a moment, I thought they had planned something for my return. Then Sophia walked out. Her dress, her ring, that ring, the one I bought, on her finger. And when Marcus wrapped his hand around her waist, my world collapsed. Their smile stabbed me. Their silence cut deeper. No one explained anything. No one apologized. The betrayal was complete, and I was expected to swallow it. Behind Sophia's beauty, a storm was brewing, one that would soon swallow Marcus whole. And in the ashes, he would come crawling to me. Shock numbed my limbs as I stared at the couple before me. My mother's eyes glistened with shame. My father looked away entirely. Only Sophia held her gaze, emotionless, cold, almost triumphant. "Michael," she began softly, "things changed." Changed? In 2 years? Or did they plan it long before I left? Marcus tried to play the big brother card. "Mike, listen, you were gone." She needed stability. I was here. I laughed, broken, hollow. "So you married her?" He clenched his jaw. "Love happens." "Love? No. This wasn't love. This was convenience wearing a fake smile." The dinner that followed felt like dining inside a coffin. Every clatter of cutlery echoed betrayal. Every glance stabbed. I couldn't breathe. I excused myself and stepped outside into the night. The Atlanta sky mocked me, so wide, so free, while I suffocated. Sophia followed. Her perfume hit me first, that floral scent I once adored. "You'll heal, Michael," she whispered. "You'll understand someday." Understand what? That she traded loyalty for comfort? That she swapped promises for proximity? Her beauty glowed under the porch light, but her soul was stone. I returned to Boston the next morning, not to study, but to escape. I didn't know then that Sophia's betrayal was only chapter 1. Her masterpiece was yet to come. I buried myself in work in Boston, taking a job at a tech firm in Cambridge. I worked late nights, weekends, anything to forget Atlanta and the nightmare wearing a wedding ring. For 2 years, I didn't speak to Marcus. I blocked Sophia everywhere. But pain doesn't disappear, it mutates. It hardens. It becomes fuel. During those years, I watched from a distance as their social media glimmered with perfection. Anniversaries in Miami, luxury dates in New York, Sophia in shimmering dresses. Always the beauty queen. It was all a performance. People envied them, called them the golden couple. But gold can hide rust. One night, my mother called. I hesitated before answering. "Michael, things are not well." My heart didn't soften, but curiosity stirred. "Marcus, he's struggling. Business issues. Money missing." "Money missing?" Then she whispered what made my chest tighten. "His wife isn't who he thinks she is." I didn't respond. I didn't care to, or so I thought. But betrayal has a way of circling back and bringing company. The storm was finally coming. For weeks after my mother's call, I ignored the itch in my spirit. I didn't want to care. Marcus had chosen his path. He had chosen my fiancée, my future, and made her his wife. Let him sleep in the bed he made. But trouble has a peculiar scent, it lingers. One evening in Cambridge, while leaving work, I saw Marcus's name flash across my phone screen. I froze. My heartbeat became a hammer. I let it ring. Then ring again. And again. On the 4th call, I answered. His voice was shaky, desperate. That wasn't the Marcus I knew, prideful, loud, confident. No, this was a man drowning. Mike, please. I need your help. The silence that followed was heavy. What happened? I asked, though a dark satisfaction curled behind my ribs. It's Sophia, he breathed. Of course it was. She emptied my business accounts. Every dollar. I leaned on the cold Boston air. He continued, voice cracking. She's gone. Left with some investor she met in California. They're in Los Angeles now. Mike, I lost everything. A part of me wanted to laugh. Another part, deeper, older, remembered the boy I grew up with. Why are you calling me? I asked. Because I know you're the only one who can help. You're good with systems, with tracking. Please, Mike. I have nothing. His voice broke. And suddenly, revenge whispered. This is the beginning. Against my better judgment, I boarded a flight back to Atlanta. Not for him, but because something inside me wanted to see the ruins. The house that once felt like home now felt haunted. When Marcus opened the door, I almost didn't recognize him. Weight lost. Eyes sunken. Beard unkept. Life had dragged him across 1,000 thorns. Come in, he muttered. I stepped into the living room. It was messy, papers everywhere, bank notices, and a wedding picture smashed on the floor. Sophia's smile beamed up from the cracked glass. I stepped on it deliberately. Where is she? I asked. He rubbed his face. Los Angeles, with a man named Richard Hale, a millionaire investor. She told me she married up. Married up? The word stung, yet fed me. She planned this, Marcus said, pacing. She convinced me to expand my trucking business, told me to let her handle the accounts, and she drained everything. I sat quietly, watching him unravel. Then he said the line that shifted the earth beneath us. Mike, I should never have taken her from you. I inhaled deeply. There it was. The confession. The seed of justice. But forgiveness wasn't coming. Not today. Something colder was rising in me. Show me everything, I said. And he did. Marcus handed me a folder filled with bank transactions, emails, and printed screenshots. All trails led to the same woman, the goddess of deception, Sophia. In every picture, she glowed like she was carved from sunlight. High cheekbones, flawless skin, enchanting hazel eyes. She was still breathtaking, but now I could see the venom beneath her beauty. She was never mine, Marcus muttered. She was never yours either. She belongs to whoever has the deepest pockets. He wasn't wrong. I flipped through transfers she made to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. Another account in Nevada. Multiple fake LLCs. She had layered her tracks like a professional. But she wasn't a professional. She was greedy. And greed always leaves fingerprints. At the bottom of the file, I saw a document I never expected, Sophia's fake identity. A second passport. She wasn't just a betrayer. She was a fraudster, a chameleon living in the cracks of luxury. Marcus watched me closely. Can you help me get back what she stole? I closed the folder slowly. I can do better than that, I said. His eyes widened with hope. Mine narrowed with purpose. Because this wasn't just recovery. This was payback. Calculated. Cold. Complete. A poetic justice only I could deliver. I returned to Boston for a week to work quietly. No social media. No calls. No updates to Marcus. I didn't want him involved, because revenge works best in silence. Using my data engineering background, I tracked Sophia's digital movements. She wasn't careful. Beauty often makes people lazy. They assume the world will bend for them. Emails, travel bookings, IP traces, luxury purchases. All roads led to Los Angeles. She now lived in Beverly Hills, in a mansion owned by her new lover, Richard Hale. Wealthy, powerful, arrogant. Perfect. I created a digital map of Sophia's life, her movements, accounts, passwords, device logins. She had used Marcus's old router once, months ago, still linked to his cloud backup. That was her mistake, and I would use it. Before leaving Boston, I received a message from an unknown number. Stay out of Los Angeles, Michael. My blood ran cold. She knew I was coming. Good. The hunter must feel the ground shake before the trap snaps. I landed in Los Angeles under an alias. New phone number, new email, Airbnb in Hollywood. I had one mission: dismantle Sophia's empire silently. I drove past her mansion twice. It was stunning. White marble steps, glass walls, palm trees swaying in seductive arrogance. A home built for illusions. but I didn't approach. Not yet. Instead, I attended a tech networking event in downtown LA, where Richard Hale was giving a speech. I watched him from the crowd, charismatic, confident, clueless. Sophia sat beside him. She looked even more beautiful than before. A golden dress hugging her curves, diamond earrings glistening under the lights. She whispered into his ear, and he laughed like a man intoxicated by lust. He had no idea that the serpent beside him had venom for blood. As I watched them walk out together, I whispered, "You took my heart. You took my family. But now, I will take everything you value." My revenge wouldn't be violent. It would be surgical. And tonight, I gathered my tools. Over the next 2 weeks, I infiltrated their world. Quietly, invisibly, James Bond style, but with a laptop instead of a gun. I got close enough to Richard's company to understand its weaknesses. Sophia had been convincing him to invest in a fake app, one she secretly owned under a ghost LLC. She was planning to drain Richard just like she did Marcus. History repeating. But this time, she had no idea that the ghost in her system was me. While studying their digital life, I discovered something else. Sophia had been cheating on Richard already, with his business partner, a man named Colin Reese. The woman was a wildfire, destroying everything she touched and moving on. Perfect. It meant I wouldn't need to create chaos. I just needed to guide it. I crafted a digital package, screenshots, transactions, messages, and sent it anonymously to Richard. 30 minutes later, I saw Sophia storm out of the mansion screaming into her phone. Richard threw her bags onto the driveway. I watched from my car. The cracks had begun. The fallout was brutal, exactly what I wanted. Richard threw Sophia out. Colin denied everything. The mansion guards refused her entry. Paparazzi captured her meltdown. The internet roasted her. Gold digger exposed. Beverly Hills scam queen. Beauty with no loyalty. But I wasn't satisfied. This was merely the appetizer. The feast was yet to come, because while she was busy fighting the fires I lit, I slipped into her offshore accounts. I rerouted every remaining dollar she stole from Marcus and sent it to a frozen holding wallet in his name. All of it. Every cent. When Sophia realized her accounts were empty, her scream filled the LA sky. That was the first time I smiled in years. And as she fell to her knees on that Beverly Hills pavement, begging the universe for mercy, I whispered to myself, "This is only the beginning." Sophia vanished from LA's social scene almost overnight. 1 week, she was the shimmering queen of Beverly Hills. The next, she was a ghost wandering from hotel lobby to lobby, begging for extensions she couldn't afford. I followed from a distance. She no longer wore diamond earrings or designer gowns. She wore fear, raw, heavy, undeniable. When she tried contacting Richard again, he blocked her. When she tried reaching Colin, he threatened a restraining order. The beauty queen had lost her kingdom, but even fire has embers. One afternoon, I watched her from across the street as she sat outside a cafe in Santa Monica. She looked smaller, humbler, desperate. She held her phone in both hands like it was her last lifeline. Then I watched her dial a number. My stomach tightened. "Marcus." "Of course." He answered. Even from where I stood, I saw him sit up straighter. Hope. Wishful thinking. The remnants of love he shouldn't have had. "Marcus." "I need help," she said, voice trembling. Marcus didn't hesitate. "Sophia? Are you okay? Where are you?" She cried. Manipulative tears, the same ones that once fooled me. I clenched my fists. This wasn't good. Not for him. And not for my plan. Sophia wasn't done playing her games. But neither was I. That night, Marcus called me. His voice held the tiniest flicker of life I hadn't heard in years. "Mike," she called. "She's in trouble." I closed my eyes. He sounded like a man reaching for a flame that had burned him before. "And what does that have to do with you?" I asked. He hesitated. She said she regrets everything. That she was confused. That Richard manipulated her. She wants to make things right. I almost laughed. Not out of humor, out of disbelief. "She played you," I said coldly. "Again. You don't know that." "Oh, I do." A long silence. Then he said something that sliced me open. "I still love her." My throat tightened. He betrayed me years ago, but he was still my brother. And love, real love, naive love, is a poison that tastes sweet before it kills. "Marcus," I whispered, "she will destroy you again." He didn't respond. He didn't need to. I already knew he would run to her. And that was dangerous. Because if Sophia managed to crawl back into his life, my revenge would crumble. I needed to stop her. But I also needed him to see her for who she truly was, with his own eyes. So I waited. Because sometimes the most painful truth is the one you witness yourself. Sophia convinced Marcus to meet her at a hotel lounge in downtown LA. I arrived an hour earlier and sat in a corner behind a newspaper, just close enough to hear, just far enough to remain invisible. Marcus walked in nervous, hopeful. Sophia entered minutes later. Even broken, she was beautiful. That was her power and her curse. She hugged him and cried into his chest. He held her like she was something fragile, something sacred. I felt a sharp pain in my chest. Jealousy? No, not for her. For the version of my brother who used to be wise, strong, impossible to fool. Marcus, she sobbed. I made mistakes, but I never stopped loving you. Lies, polished into diamonds. He wiped her tears. Let me take care of you, he said. I closed my eyes, fighting anger. He was diving into the same fire that burned him the first time. Sophia looked up at him with an expression I knew too well, false innocence. But then, her phone vibrated. She glanced at the screen, and her face shifted. Fear. Real fear. That's when I knew someone else was looking for her. And my plan wasn't the only threat she faced. Later that night, as I left the hotel, a black SUV followed me. At first, I ignored it. LA streets are full of cars, after all. But when I sped up, it sped up. When I slowed, it slowed. Then the tinted window slid down. Michael Duvall, a man with hard eyes and the aura of someone who wasn't used to hearing no, stared back at me. Yes, I answered cautiously. He tossed a photograph onto the sidewalk. Sophia, but not the glamorous one. This was a mugshot from years ago. Fake identity charges. Fraud attempts. A record she had buried deep. I'm looking for her, the man said. She stole investment funds from my client in Texas and disappeared. We've tracked her here. I kept my expression calm, but inside, I felt a dark satisfaction. What does this have to do with me? I asked. You were engaged to her once, he replied. People don't forget first loves. She forgot me, I said coldly. He nodded. If you see her, tell her this. Running is over. The SUV drove off. I picked up the photograph again. Another life she ruined. Another storm she invited. Sophia wasn't just a betrayer. She was a fugitive running out of places to hide. And I now had a new piece in my game. Marcus moved Sophia into a small apartment he rented in Long Beach. He spent his remaining savings on her medical bills, food, clothes, everything. Watching him rebuild her life was like watching a man drown while thanking the ocean. One night, back in my Airbnb, I found myself writing a letter. Not to Sophia, not to Marcus, to myself. Michael, you are not doing this for revenge alone. You are doing it because you know what she is. Because you know she will hurt him again. Because you watched her destroy you without blinking. Because someone needs to break the cycle. But remember, justice cannot be driven by anger alone. There must be purpose. There must be poetry in the ending. Stay focused. Stay patient. You are not the villain. You are the correction. I folded the letter and burned it in a cup. Not out of shame. Out of clarity. As the flames died, I whispered, it's time. Sophia had slipped through the cracks for too long. Marcus was blind. The Texas investor was closing in. All paths were converging. And I would be the one standing at the center when everything collapsed. My plan was moving, but slowly, too slowly. Sophia was a chameleon. Give her time, and she'd change colors again. I needed something permanent. Something that would expose her truth, so clearly Marcus could never return to her. Not even in pity. And then fate handed it to me. I was in her old online backup files. Leftover fragments from when she used Marcus's home Wi-Fi long ago. Hidden in a forgotten folder was a recording. I clicked play. Sophia's voice. Charming. Manipulative. Venom dipped in honey. Marcus is easy, she whispered to someone. He thinks with his ego, not his brain. Michael was smarter, more difficult, but he was too loyal. That makes men weak. Loyalty is easy to exploit. My jaw tightened. Then, when I'm done with Marcus, I'll move on to someone richer. Men like them are stepping stones. Nothing more. I replayed it. Twice. 3 times. Not because I needed to hear it again, but because I wanted the fire inside me to become lava. I uploaded the recording to a secure drive. Not to use yet. Not to expose her yet. No, this was my checkmate piece. The final blow. A weapon of truth reserved for the last chapter. And when Marcus heard it, his heart would shatter so completely, even Sophia couldn't glue it back. Marcus invited me to dinner at his rented apartment in Long Beach. It smelled of stew and survival. Sophia wasn't there, thank God, but her presence lingered in every corner. He served food in silence. We ate in silence. Then he finally spoke. "Mike, I know you don't approve." "I don't," I said flatly. He nodded slowly. "But she's changed. She's been through a lot." I stared at him, trying to understand how a grown man could be so blind. "Marcus," I said calmly, "she didn't fall into trouble. She creates it, lives in it, breeds it." He dropped his spoon. "You're wrong." I leaned back. "Then tell me, why did she lie about being pregnant?" He froze. "You didn't know?" I asked softly. "A few years ago, right before you married her, she told me she thought she was expecting. She used it to keep me from leaving for Boston." His face drained of color. "She told me the same thing," he whispered. "Of course she did. Recycled lies." He stared at the table, hands trembling. "Marcus," I said gently, "she is not your responsibility. She is your downfall." He didn't speak. He didn't need to. A crack appeared in his belief. A fracture, and I would widen it. 2 days later, Richard Hale, the millionaire ex, called me. I didn't know how he got my number. I didn't care. "I hear you're connected to Sophia," he said, his voice laced with irritation. "Was?" I replied coldly. "Not anymore." He chuckled bitterly. "Then you should know she's trying to blackmail me." "Of course she was. She has recordings," he continued. "Videos. She's threatening to leak things that could ruin my company." I sighed. This woman was a ticking bomb. "What do you want from me?" I asked. "Information," he said. "I want to know where she's hiding. And I want to end this." I hesitated. Not because I wanted to protect Sophia, but because I didn't want anyone else ending her story. That privilege belonged to me. "Richard," I said calmly, "Sophia destroys anyone who touches her. Give it time. She'll bury herself." He scoffed. "I'm not a patient man." "Well, I am," I replied. "Why?" he asked. I paused. "Because I've been waiting for this moment for years." He said nothing. Then he hung up. Good. Richard was emotional, hurting, but I was strategic. My revenge needed elegance, timing, precision, and the stage wasn't set yet. News travels fast in Los Angeles. That night, Sophia disappeared from the apartment Marcus rented. Left her clothes. Left her bags. Left everything. Marcus panicked. "She's gone. Michael, I don't know where she is." I pretended to be concerned. Inside, I felt stillness. Calm. The kind storms feel before they break. I checked the cameras I had secretly accessed from the building's security system. The footage showed Sophia leaving at 3:17 a.m. Hoodie up, sunglasses on, carrying only a small handbag. I traced her from ATM cameras to an Uber ride, then to an expensive hotel in downtown LA. She wasn't leaving Marcus. She was looking for her next opportunity. The next man. The next victim. The next wallet. I called Marcus. "I found her," I said. "But you need to stay home." "Why?" he cried. "Because if you go there," I said gently, "you will lose the last piece of yourself." His breath broke. He didn't argue. Good. Sophia had run for the last time. Tomorrow, I would corner her. Not out of hatred. Out of necessity. Because some wounds must be closed with fire. She didn't expect me. When I walked into that dimly lit hotel bar, Sophia froze. Her glass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the marble floor. Her eyes widened. Fear, shock, guilt, all wrestling for dominance. "Michael," she breathed. I sat across from her, calm, composed, dangerous. "You've been busy," I said. She swallowed. "I can explain." I smiled. A slow, cold smile. "No," I replied softly. "For once, you're going to listen." She straightened, trying to regain her old confidence. "You think you understand me? You don't. You never did." "You're right," I said. "I didn't understand how quickly you could betray someone. Not until you betrayed him too." She stiffened. "Marcus still loves me," she whispered. "That's the tragedy," I replied. Her eyes glimmered, maybe regret, maybe fear. "What do you want, Michael?" "The truth," I said. "Not for me. For him." She looked away. "You wouldn't dare expose me." I leaned forward, voice low. "I already have everything. The recordings, the files, the evidence. I know who you really are. Tears welled in her eyes. For the first time, real ones. You can't destroy me, she whispered. I stood up slowly. No, Sophia. I'm not here to destroy you. I'm here to end your cycle. And as I walked away, leaving her trembling in that hotel booth, I knew the final chapters would deliver the justice she never saw coming. The day of the truth finally arrived. Michael walked into the Duval Global boardroom with a calmness that frightened Damien and Miriam. He didn't sit at the head of the table. He let the silence sit there instead. Then he pressed a button. The screen lit up with bank transfers, hidden accounts, stolen assets, documents all signed by Miriam. Her face drained of blood. Michael turned to the board calmly. Everything she inherited from my father, she sold. And everything she sold, she funneled to Damien. Gasps filled the room. Miriam tried to speak, but Michael raised a finger. You raised me to fear you, to obey you. But you forgot one thing. Your son grew up. Damien jumped up. This means nothing without proof. Michael tilted his head. Another button. Audio recordings. Phone calls. Messages. Damien's voice, bragging about how he would take everything. In 20 minutes, the entire empire they built on lies collapsed. The board voted. Miriam and Damien were removed. Permanently. Security escorted them out as reporters waited outside like wolves. Michael didn't smile. The real revenge wasn't done. Miriam and Damien returned to her private mansion only to find every door locked, every guard gone, every servant dismissed. By court order, Michael had seized it all legally. Miriam pounded the door with her fists. Michael, I am your mother. He watched from the car parked at the gate. No, he whispered. You were the woman who raised me out of obligation. You were never a mother. Damien spat on the gate, screaming, You'll pay for this. Michael stepped out, walked to the gate, and looked him dead in the eye. I already have, he said quietly. He left them standing at the gate of a house they no longer owned. With no home, no servants, and all their assets frozen, Miriam and Damien were forced to stay at a small guest house in one of the communities Miriam once mocked. Whispers followed them everywhere. That's the former CEO's mother. That's the man who stole from Duval Global. That's Damien, the failure. Damien grew angry. Miriam grew humiliated. One night, Miriam snapped. You promised me we'd win, she screamed at Damien. You were the one who said he was weak. Damien shouted back. He was weak, until you were stupid enough to underestimate him. Their voices echoed through the narrow room. For the first time, the tyrant broke, and she realized the one truth she never admitted. Michael was stronger than both of them combined. Meanwhile, Michael finally reached the place he avoided for years, the cemetery where Elaine was buried. He knelt, touching her name carved in stone. I won, he whispered, but I lost you. The wind blew gently, as though she were answering. He closed his eyes. You were right. Peace is better than war. But sometimes war is the only way to earn peace. He placed the ring he once gave her on her tombstone. No more battles, he whispered. I'm done fighting ghosts. For the first time in years, he let himself cry. When he rose, his face looked freer. A man reborn. Months later, Duval Global thrived under Michael's leadership. But Miriam and Damien? They weren't done with their punishment. Michael arranged something quietly. Legally devastating. He presented evidence to the authorities. Tax evasion, asset manipulation, fraud involving international partners. He did not fabricate anything. He simply uncovered what they hid. They were both arrested. As Miriam was handcuffed, she shouted, Michael, I am your mother. Michael didn't look back. You should have acted like one. Damien screamed and cursed until they pushed him into the police van. The cameras flashed. The world saw the fall of the Duval betrayers. And Michael walked away, slowly, calmly, like a king who reclaimed his throne. His revenge wasn't loud. It wasn't violent. It was poetic, complete, and permanent. Michael Duval restored his legacy and buried theirs. Thank you for listening to my story. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share my videos. Thank you.